dick anymore, a professional like me. A guy who does the detective work nobody else wants to do. A guy who wears hats and walks around in a black and white world. I began contemplating a more profitable line of work, like politics.
We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to you.
Hey, folks, welcome to the Monday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here at AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. The first show after Thanksgiving week, and the countdown to Christmas is on. I hope everybody had a fantastic holiday and holiday weekend. Ted, you had a good weekend, good Thanksgiving?
Oh, yeah, especially those turkey sandwiches.
Yeah, I actually went down to New York for the holiday and ended up with a turkey dinner from the supermarket. Just the way things worked out, but it was a nice, quiet, fine holiday. Yeah, so I hope everybody had a great one. Of course, Christmas is coming up now very quickly, and we'll be wishing you all a very Merry Christmas, because I guess that's okay to do now. So let's do some housekeeping. This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show at AM 830 WCRN. You can join the conversation for the next hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Our text line is 617-297-8388. And that appears on the screen in the studio. We try to work it into the conversation. I want to also remind folks to go to our social media, the station social media, that is WCRN on X and WCRN 830 AM on Facebook. We need, this is a new reissued and redone page, and we are linking the shows, the hosts that want to stream their show. It will show up on the station's Facebook page. So please feel free, go there, hit the like button, follow us on Facebook, and we'll be putting more and more content on there. Meantime, of course, you can always follow me on my social media platforms at Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I. You can also watch the show and listen to the show on those platforms, Facebook, X, Twitch TV, LinkedIn profile. They're all there, and you can join us that way as I broadcast from our palatial but not overly ostentatious studios here in Westboro, Massachusetts. All right, that's it. And of course, we're streaming on the TuneIn app 24/7 because, well, just like thousands of other radio stations, that's just what we do. So you have the two ways of doing that. Tune in terrestrial at 8:30 a.m. or in the TuneIn app and punch in WCRN. Get the app, it's seconds to download it. Hit in, punch in WCRN, see our logo, and bang. Do me a favor, hit the like button so we know you're there, and then we're very easy to find. So good afternoon, Patriots, and welcome to the Joe Mangiacotti Show on WCRN. Common sense conversation for the common sense citizen. And I hope you're coffee strong, because today's news requires a double dose of caffeine as well as common sense.
Oh, boy.
Yep, let's start with the headline that's turning stomachs across America. Joe Biden has granted Hunter Biden a blanket pardon. Retroactive, exactly, man. Retroactive to 2014. And unbelievably, that is. Now, forward-looking to include crime. See, it's so retroactive to 14, and then for anything that he might be like, this is the biggest monopoly get out of free jail card ever issued. And Hunter might commit any crime in the future. He's pardoning him now for future crimes. Yeah, you heard that right. The pardon is a preemptive strike against accountability, a giant middle finger to the American people and to the justice system. Now, Biden claims this was necessary because Hunter was unfairly singled out due to being his son. Really, Joe? Well, let's unpack that for a second. See, for years, Hunter has been left untouched by the justice system that seems to work harder protecting Biden's than pursuing the truth. Whistleblowers from the federal agencies that are involved here, DOJ, FBI, IRS, have come forward to say they were warned off of investigating Hunter, with their careers explicitly threatened if they dug too deep. Wow. The result? Well, a decade of immunity for a man whose laptop had all kinds of crimes on it. Sorry about that. I got to take a sip. My apologies, folks.
Here, I got something that'll explain everything.
You know I smoke a lot of grass.
Seriously.
I guess he's going to be able to go right back to the old ways.
Nothing's preventing him. As I was going to say, a decade of immunity for a man whose laptop alone has enough evidence of crime to keep a Netflix stocked with true crime documentaries for like 20 years. And yet Hunter's the victim here. Let's be real. This isn't about fairness. It's about the Biden family keeping its skeletons locked in the closet. This pardon is just a disgrace. It's an insult to every American who believes the rule of law. If you or I had committed even 1/10 of what's documented on Hunter's laptop, we'd be lucky to see daylight through the bars. But not Hunter. No, he's the prodigal son of a political elite, shielded from consequences at every turn. Remember when Democrats told us no one is above the law? Apparently that doesn't apply to their own. Where's the outrage of the 191 documented sex crimes on that laptop? The 128 drug crimes, the 140 business crimes linked to Hunter Biden. Where are the Democrats who championed criminal justice reform? Will the black men Biden locked up under the 1994 crime bill get the same clemency as his son? Meanwhile, the same DOJ that's bending over backward for the Bidens is working overtime to prosecute Donald Trump. Trump isn't getting preemptive pardons. He's getting endless indictments. But here's the kicker. While the Biden administration weaponizes the system against its political enemies, Trump is hosting intelligence briefings at Mar-a-Lago and gearing up to clean house in Washington. Now let's pivot to another story that underscores our justice system's double standard, the trial of Daniel Penny. Here's a Marine who stepped up to protect innocent subway passengers from a man who was screaming threats and high on a synthetic drug. Penny acted to prevent harm. And you're allowed to do that legally, stepping into the shoes of someone else for protection. Yet he's being vilified, with prosecutors pushing racial undertones to make this about anything but the facts. And that's disgusting, by the way. Neely, the man who tragically lost his life, had a long history of violent behavior. He was a ticking time bomb. And yet Penny, the man who acted to protect others, is the one on trial. Meanwhile, in cities across America, we see rampant crime going unpunished, with Soros-funded DAs like Alvin Bragg turning a blind eye. Let's face it, our justice system has been hijacked. It's no longer about right and wrong. It's about who you know and how much power you wield. That's why Biden can pardon his son for a laundry list of crimes, why Daniel Penny faces prison for defending others, and why Donald Trump is prosecuted for simply existing. And while Democrats are busy defending the indefensible, they're also starting to eat their own. George Clooney, now he clearly is a Hollywood elite, is accusing Barack Obama of orchestrating a coup against Joe Biden to install Kamala Harris. Meanwhile, Harris' team is blaming hurricanes and Joe Rogan for her failures. And just a side thing on the Joe Rogan thing. Right now they're running around saying we need to get our own Joe Rogan. Hey, guys, you had Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan was a Democrat. Joe Rogan was very favorable to Democratic candidates. It's your policies that sent him looking for common sense, logical thinking, and he found his way to the MAGA movement. So you messed that up, folks. It's a spectacle of finger pointing and infighting, but here's the takeaway. The left is crumbling under the weight of its own hypocrisy. Barack Obama set the stage for this mess with his globalist leftist agenda, but let's not kid ourselves. We the people, we bear responsibility too. We got complacent. We trusted into institutions that were never meant to be trusted without oversight. It's time to remember our constitutional duties as free citizens. And we're going to see this happen with Kash Patel, who's going to go in there and remind people of the FBI what their duties are. And he's going to limit the scope of the FBI as well. So what's the solution? First, we hold the elites accountable. That means demanding transparency, rejecting corruption, and supporting leaders like Donald Trump who are willing to take on the swamp. Second, we take action in our own communities, whether it's standing up for justice, like Daniel Penny did, or speaking out against absurdities of cancel culture and political correctness. America is at a tipping point, folks. The choice is ours. Do we continue down this path of corruption and decay, or do we fight to restore the principles that made this nation great? As always, I want to hear your thoughts. Call in, share your perspective, and let's have a common sense conversation for the common sense citizens. This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show on WCRN 830 AM, Radio Central, where the truth still matters. Again, you can join the conversation for the remainder of the hour at 508-871-7000. Now, the reaction, folks, and I want to know what you say. What say you on this with the pardon? Now, I'm not surprised. Right? Are you really surprised? But that's not the point, because a liar lies and a BS or BS's, and of course, we've talked about it on this show, other shows on here. And then there's other shows on here that believe Joe Biden when he said no. When we come back after the break in a little while, I'm going to play a few minutes of just tape, a montage of the binder saying no, CNN, MSNBC, talking heads on the left, not only them saying no, that Joe isn't going to do it, and Biden saying he's not going to do it, but then them also saying this is great. This is a great example of law being followed and no one's above it, and Joe Biden is so awesome for saying this, and he won't pardon his son. And of course he is. Not only is he going to pardon his son because it's his son, but why the retroactive? Why the future? See, by pardoning in advance like this, it kills any investigation. There's no end to it. There's no reason. And quite frankly, how do you justify taxpayer money investigating a crime that you're not allowed to prosecute because he's already pardoned for many of those crimes? But what this does do is it doesn't give a foothold for an investigation into any of those things that would tie Joe Biden to it, like the millions of dollars from Ukraine, Russia, China, Kazakhstan, all these places, the diamond, just the cars that are bought, all of the stuff that we know. Linda Moran there from the New York Post, Laptop from Hell. Read that book. Read that book. Look, we have to take our first break here on the Monday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. 508-871-7000. 508-871-7000. Lines open and available. Give us a join back in 2 in 10, folks.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own, but MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
Don't put mercury in the trash. Don't put mercury in the trash. Fluorescent lamps. Thermometers. Thermostats. These could all contain mercury, so let's dispose of them properly. Don't put mercury in the trash. Don't put mercury in the trash. Know your products with mercury, so you can dispose of them properly. Mercury is harmful to human health and the environment. To learn what products in your home may contain mercury and where to safely dispose of them, please contact your local Board of Health or Department of Public Works or visit keepmercuryfromrising.org. Know your products with mercury, so you can dispose of them properly.
Visit keepmercuryfromrising.org, because together we can keep our environment safe. Brought to you by Win Waste Innovations. Performance for the planet.
All right, folks, welcome back to the second segment of the Monday afternoon edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. You can join the conversation for the remainder of the hour at 508-871-7000. 508-871-7000. What say you? So I want to talk about the FBI. I want to talk about Kash Patel. And President Trump has nominated him. He announced on Saturday that he intends to put him in that position, and that would be replacing Christopher Wray, who he nominated in 2017 during the first term in office. And he posted, "I'm proud to announce that it's actually Kash Patel, will serve as the next director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Kash is a brilliant lawyer, investigator, and American first fighter who has spent his career exposing corruption, defending justice, and protecting the American people." So the left's going nuts, but you got to understand the left is going to go nuts with 99.99% of these selections because they're all America First agenda people, and they know that Trump does know his way around Washington much better than he did the first term. Of course, I mean, look at what they did to him. They sent fishing expeditions over there trying to just get something, and that's, you know, what that resulted in. So the and we've talked about this, folks. The issue here, the FBI rank and file, again, 90% of those men and women have joined the FBI for the right reason, and they have the right attitude. But we have this cabal of leadership. We've got this seventh floor of people who just, they have agendas, and they've weaponized the authority and power that they have. And that's what has to be addressed. And there's a former FBI special agent, and she's a Fox News contributor, Nicole Parker. I don't know if you've seen her. And she made a great point. She said, over the last several years, the FBI became politically and socially weaponized. That must end. And those responsible for the Bureau's destruction must be held accountable with tangible consequences. She said it perfectly. Perfectly. Ted, you wanted to add?
Yeah, it's the gnashing of teeth that we're hearing. It's all about the expectation of these people being dressed down and exposed.
Well, that's what has them worried. First of all, Kash has already indicated that things like Epstein's list, Diddy's invitation list, guest list, that these things would be released. Now, we know they've been not released. We know that they've not been made public because it's protecting people on those lists. And a lot of people... There's a lot of Hollywood elite right now that are probably looking at real estate in non-extradition countries because they're going to get the hell out of the reach, the Diddy stuff. We're talking about decades of parties and misbehavior, and many people in the music industry, not just the artists and performers, but the executives and promoters, and then the Hollywood crowd. And Jennifer Lopez is very nervous. Look, you've got all kinds of names that are just being circulated, but not on the official release. But these lawsuits are going to end up having to expose it all. But why is Epstein's book not released? Parts of it have been, but that's what they're nervous about. Not just that, not just all the wrongdoers. You know, I mean, there was a congressman, and I can't recall his name at the moment, folks, but he made a good point when he was talking about the whole Trump, the New York case, because of the 130,000 to Stormy Daniels. Do you know that $16 million of taxpayer money has been paid for the same thing by Congress because Congress members or staffers stepped out of line? And there's been NDAs signed and money paid as hush money, which is perfectly legal, right? It's done. It's only illegal when Trump did it with his own money. But $16 million of tax, your money, was used to buy silence to people that were also put into some kind of position. I'd like to see an audit. I mean, we just had that state question in Massachusetts, right, about whether the state auditor can audit our own legislative body. And they didn't want that. That passed. But that's what they're worried about. That's what they're worried about. They're very worried about what will be exposed, because the people that are going into these positions, and don't forget that when the president or president-elect and Donald Trump is sworn in and he appoints these people, he's already nominated them, right? Everybody's saying, hey, we're clearing up, we're clearing the slate, we're going to try to get these people confirmed by the time you're sworn in. So these aren't people that are part of the old school and part of the swamp that are going to understand that they need to play ball, and they're going to make sure that that investigation, that folder is put on top of the closet or the file cabinet, not visited again, right? So it's still considered an active investigation, but nothing's happening. So it's not closed, it's not open, or it's open but not closed, but it's not being worked on. Or like in the case with Hunter, on many times, they were just flat out told, stop, don't. No, they were stonewalled. They just said, don't do this. And they purposely allowed statute of limitations to run out on some of these cases. Ted?
Constitutional officers were required by their professional staff to take a knee and let the clock run out.
Yeah, exactly. And now this retroactive pardon that goes back 10 years wipes all that away. Now, I understand the father in him, but talking about not doing this over and over again is the problem. Ted, do we have that audio? We're going to play. This is just some of the audio of us being told, and not only that he's not going to pardon him, but then the jamokes on the cable network news on the left telling you what a great example that he's setting, that he's doing this. And this is just so wonderful. Let's play and listen to this, folks.
Presidential promise to put the law before family.
I said I abide by the jury decision. I will do that, and I will not pardon him.
Letting the world know that he will not wipe away the decision of 12 of his son's peers.
Was asked directly, and he has said he wouldn't pardon his son if he gets convicted.
Let's wait and see what happens if he loses.
Yeah, but he said it.
He's going to get pardoned by his dad. There's no question about that.
The president has ruled out pardoning his son.
Major commitment from the president, accepting the outcome of the trial and also pledging not to pardon his son.
So the challenge for him is really to continue to live up to his values when it was really personal, and he did that today.
It seems like a pretty normal, straightforward answer, but it takes new weight when we see what Trump is saying about the outcome of his trial, what we're hearing from other Republicans who say they don't accept the jury's verdict here in New York.
The contrast is profound. To sit there and say, well, I'm not going to intervene in the legal process, and I wouldn't pardon my son. One side, Democrats and Joe Biden protecting the justice system. And on the other, Republicans and Trump protecting Trump.
Our current president of the United States has so much respect for the law that he has said he would not pardon his son. I mean, again, it's all about the contrast.
President Biden saying, I will respect whatever this jury decides, versus Donald Trump after he was convicted on 34 counts, saying the entire system is rigged against him.
Their latest attack has been that Joe Biden has politicized and weaponized the DOJ, right? That was the whole argument around Donald Trump's conviction. And this week, of course, Hunter Biden was found guilty.
All right, that goes on like 9 minutes. You got the idea here, folks. And listen to them. It's so wonderful that he has so much respect for the rule of law. Well, here's the thing. Joe Biden, in his little speech about this, reference and made point about it being because of the corruption in political reasons. The left, as usual, there's in Joe's perfect example of this, they're so tone deaf and so unaware of the issue here, and that is, yes, exactly. And that's what you were doing to Donald Trump. Donald Trump was they were inventing legal theories to go after him. And your son was the benefactor of being told to stand down and leave it alone. All right, this is the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN, 508-871-7000. Let's go to the phones. Gary's waiting patiently. Hey, Gary, what say you?
Good afternoon, Joe. Joe, in one fell swoop, the Democrats have lost the moral high ground on every issue that they have been going on about for the last 4 years. Gun control, you just pardoned a convicted gun felon.
Mm-hmm.
He was illegally carrying a gun. Don't want to hear anything about
And
that.
lied on his application, by the way.
Exactly. The justice system. Oh my goodness, the Democrats are all about the justice system. Yeah, we've seen the abuse with the Trump, going after Trump, and now we've seen the abuse of the pardon system. The fact that they want to sit there and tell us that, oh my goodness, we're going to go after all these millionaires and billionaires. We're going to hire 83,000 new IRS agents to go after tax cheats. And you just pardoned a tax cheat. Now, these Democrats, they are just beyond the pale. Everything that we've said about what we were talking about before was that, they project. When they're up to something, it's exactly what they're saying everybody else is doing. You know what I mean? Democrats will make that accusation that you're doing something when in fact it is them who are the biggest purveyors of that particular sin. And I keep hearing, well, Kushner's father got a pardon. Yeah, after he served his sentence. That's what makes this whole thing so egregious, is that most pardons that you see lately are people who served a sentence and they are pardoned afterwards, but not in this case. This reminds me, I haven't seen people this upset about a pardon since Mark Rich, which everybody has forgotten about. When Bill Clinton pardoned a guy named Mark Rich because he owed $10 million in back taxes. How do you sit there and tell us that we have to be good citizens, we have to abide by the legal system, we have to abide by the by gun laws that you put in, we have to abide by the tax system? How is it that you could sit there with a straight face and say the rule applies to all of you people, but not to us? You got it, Gary. I got to hold you there. We're against the clock. Not to mention Al Sharpton got paid $500,000 from Harris's campaign for a softball interview. He owes millions in taxes and goes in and out of the White House with ease. All right, folks, we're going to take our break here. Back on the other side for second half of the Monday edition. Back in 2 in 10, folks.
Time now for the forecast from the Boston Independence Group Weather Center. Call Jerry Doherty today at 877-772-1776. Retirement is within reach.
I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and here's the latest Boston 25 weather on Radio 830 WCRN. We've got quiet and cold weather today with highs in the upper 30s and mostly sunny skies. Tonight is more teens and 20s, and repeat with a high around 39 or 40 for the day tomorrow. Keep in mind, Wednesday night into Thursday, travel could be tricky with some minor snow and rain. I'm meteorologist Sherry Spear, and you can hear Boston 25 live for the morning drive weekdays on AM 830 WCRN.
Headline news, weather, and local information central to your day on Radio Central 830 WCRN.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own. The MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
I'm Lee Gaudette from Gaudette Insurance and the Gaudette Insurance Show. You're listening to Radio Central, AM 830 WCRN.
All All right, folks, welcome back to the second half of the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here in Radio Central, AM 830 WCRN. You can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. Before I go on, I want to share a quick something because, this AI, it's a big issue and everybody talks about it and the stats and worried about their jobs. But, and I told this story a while ago when a friend of mine, it was Silas, who put in one time, he said, "Who is Joe Mangiacotti?" And the first response he got back was many paragraphs. It actually listed Boston radio, years, and a bunch of the stations, just a lot of information. And it said at the end of it, a conservative talk host in Boston. But when he told me this and read it out, and I wish he had saved it, I had done it. I went in and asked it, and it came back and said, no information on this person. So it's almost like AI realized, oh, we don't want to talk about that. But then I did this today for what they say in giggles, right? And I asked it if it could, I said, ask ChatGPT to write 5 jokes about Joe Biden. And then I asked it to do 5 jokes about Trump. So Joe Biden, the prompt I get back is, I'm sorry, but I can't help with that request. I asked it, give me 5 jokes about Donald Trump. Here are 5 lighthearted jokes about Donald Trump. And then it lists the 5 jokes. Now, they're not very good. They're silly or stupid, but, why Donald Trump bring a ladder to his rally? Because he wanted to raise the stakes. Why does Donald Trump never play hide and seek? Because good luck hiding when your hair is a national treasure. They're fine. Now, I went back and reworked it, and finally it said, when I asked it for Joe Biden, then it finally came back and said, here are 5 lighthearted jokes about Joe Biden. An example, Joe Biden might not remember all the details, but he sure knows how to recollect his thoughts right after a nap. So anyway, remember, this stuff is written by people and companies like Google and these AIs, and they're left and they're progressive, which is a term I dispute anyway. Just a side thing I thought I'd share. All right, folks, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Let's go to the phones. Tyler is waiting patiently. Hey, Tyler, what say you?
I say for the second time, your soliloquy that you gave should be required reading and listening for anybody who wants to be involved in the repositioning and reestablishing of our government through sanity and common sense. And the guy who's taken over the FBI should come talk to me about 20 years of being sidestepped, backstabbed, betrayed, and undermined. They tried to do to me what they successfully did to Al Bruno. And this is not the FBI, like Joe said. 10,000 uniform and 7,000 plainclothes, pockets of agenda and evil, they occur. And this is how it works. The Southern District and Railroad Central. A prosecutor whose name withheld went and told and leaked a lie that Al Bruno was going to go and open the books and expose everyone on their organized business and control of an entanglement mess. See, they're the people who help keep balance when you have no one else to check the balance. So they lied. Al didn't even talk to his wife. He went to New York and got a bulletproof vest from Jimmy Ciano, who was concerned. And they tricked Roach, who Al slapped for tearing up emos, into shooing him, and tricked him and my childhood buddy, Freddie Gias, who is not this crazy maniac. They're normal people. They thought they were doing the right thing, and they tripped Marshmallow Minds into doing their dirty work scapegoat. They call them third-party accessories or plausible deniability.
Yeah, sometimes also they refer to them as the useful idiots as well.
Yes, sir. Like poor Roach was considered a useful idiot. And the sad reality is, like I saw and experienced more of these type of people. I can hear them and feel them for my advanced exposure to them, which I never went to the dark side. I maintained respect and dignity and focused on solutions, not problems.
Yeah, absolutely. Tyler, but the important thing is, because I was talking about Cash, and I think a lot of this is going to get cleared up. But here's the thing about Cash Patel, folks. is he has, and I know the left is criticizing because they don't want someone who has experience investigating, right? And he has prosecuted terrorists. He's investigated these things, and he knows a lot of this stuff, Tyler and everyone else that haven't come out yet because they just haven't gone there. But Kash Patel is someone who has worked in the Pentagon, who's worked at DOJ, who understands that bureaucracy doesn't move without the lubricant of paperwork and bureaucracy itself. So he's going to be able to track all this information down with emails and notes and things that he knows exists and that they just weren't looking for. So I think that you see everybody in the FBI that the leadership is very nervous there. Tyler, thanks for the call. Always a great point. 508-871-7000. Next up is Ken. Hey, Ken, what say you?
Well, Joe, I agreed with everything that Gary had to say, except his opening statement, where he said, well, my conclusion is the left media cannot lose what they never had. So he said they lost the high ground.
Yeah, good point. And I think they're dead, Ken. I really think this is what finally they've look, we of I think all agreed, most of us who listen to the show and on the show, that they haven't had credibility for a long time. And what we learned here, what's been established, Trump, and apparently with the help of Barron, has changed how future presidential races will be done, because they will go to the alternative sources, platforms, these podcasts and things of that nature, because it's just been exposed that the mainstream media is so biased. Listen to I could have done 9 minutes of the montage of people praising Joe Biden for saying he won't do it. And of course, Chris Wallace, out of all people, he's the voice that said, well, that yet to be seen. I mean, let's see if he doesn't pardon him. I mean, he had until the 20th to do it, and he decided to do it early and get it out of the way.
To use as an example, I first moved to New Hampshire about 40 years ago, and they were definitely a right center, one station, Channel 9, ABC. And then when I moved back a couple of years ago, they're definitely a left center. So, for instance, I just put on for 15, 20 seconds at lunchtime. So they're describing the pardon and showing David Muir asking Biden, who knows how long ago, would he pardon? And just a quick no.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's like, and Muir doesn't follow up.
Yeah, but without even the asking, the follow up of the people praising him for saying this and then acting. Now, this is always the question, isn't it, Ken? When somebody on the left says something that is laughable to us, is the question I have that always comes in my mind is, do they really believe what they're saying, or do they know it's bull, but they're saying it anyway? They're playing along and lying. And which is it, and which is worse? Is it worse that they're ignorant of the actual truth here, or that they are willingly lying about it? Hold on, Ted wanted to jump in.
Yeah, you've got to remember that these people are trained in the school of access. They will say and do anything to guarantee their access.
Yeah, they're so right. The old school of journalism is gone when people, they use the whole shoe leather thing. They actually used to have to go, right? These new generation of journalists don't ever leave their desk, by the way. And they they used to take it all from Twitter. Now they're upset because X doesn't always follow their agenda. Plus, and I think this is one of the greatest things they ever did, Ken, that Elon ever did, was add that community notes to X so that these hoaxes can be shut down right away, right? When somebody puts something out there, people right away can say that, no, that's not here. Here's the reference material to show that that's not true. So that's great. But the journalists have lost. They don't do the old school. I mean, they literally look to each other and then it's like a circular argument with themselves, right? They just feed off of their own. The whole Russian hoax thing was that.
Yeah, last week, a group of journalists were complaining that they expect to have to spend more time doing their job now that Trump's back.
Wow.
And again, I agree with Ted, except he used the word journalist.
Yeah. Well, I know Hari Carr says right there,
Right.
they're
He's
operative,
absolutely right.
Democratic operatives with press passes. And that's is a very accurate description of that.
Now, here's what I'm doing, though. I'm putting myself in a voter half my age or even younger. And I'm thinking, no wonder they're totally turned off. I mean, we check in at the media because we've been doing it all our life. Those 30 and under are like totally checked out because all they have to do is see this once or twice. And they think they're phony fraud. I'm wasting my time even listening to this. And is it a surprise that 2/3 of those that age support what Trump is doing?
Yeah,
Because
the
they see Trump
youth
on the
movement,
media
right?
described. And all they know is a Trump administration and a Biden administration. It's night and day. Trump runs circles around them because they are so phony, fraud, and won't work. And he will. He'll work his tail off.
And regardless of how many times we were told the economy's fine and everything's great, we're living it. We know, right? It doesn't matter if you're 23 or 53. The prices are all high for everybody at the grocery store. And then this whole thing of, and I understand how they might have been excited that they thought they were going to get forgiven. And that's a very weird term to use because it's just transferring the debt to the taxpayer on their student loans. They may have been excited about that, but it never came through. So A, he constitutionally, he couldn't do it in the first place. And then B, the court ruled it down. You know, they said you can't do it. So then he didn't deliver on it. So they're very, but yeah, think about that. You make a good point, Ken, that these people have only lived, right, for most of their teenage adult lives. They lived under two administrations. The Trump administration, they might have been in their teens when they started to get conscious about politics. And then they came in and all of a sudden, jobs were hard, the wages wasn't keeping up, the groceries went crazy, gas went up, yada, yada, you know the detail. Ken, we're against the clock for the break. Thank you for the call. Always greatly appreciated. All right, folks, this is the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. You can join the conversation for the remainder of the hour at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. What say you? Pick anything we've talked about it, or if you want to throw something else in there, that's fine. Mrs. Blair, we will go to you right after the break. Back 2 in 10, folks. Stick with us.
Looking for guidance as you face a future on Social Security? It's hard to figure out on your own, but MedicareAdvisors.com is a completely independent insurance agency specializing in Medicare insurance planning. We work with the top insurance companies so we can offer our clients the best coverage for them. We design plans with a focus on low costs, which we combine with personalized insurance advice aimed at helping our clients make better informed decisions. Russ Swallow is a certified senior advisor and a licensed insurance advisor. He's been helping clients with their health insurance needs since 1970. And after a failed attempt at retirement, he created the Medicare Advisors in 2014. Russ concluded that since Medicare is health insurance, he might as well put his almost 50 years of health insurance experience to good use, as 75,000 people reach age 65 in Massachusetts every year, and they can use some help. Call Russ today at 508-831-0805. Put his years of personal experience to work for you as you try to unravel the complexities of Social Security.
Those things we most cherish are all put at risk through the improper disposal of mercury in everyday items. Fluorescent lamps, thermometers, thermostats all contain mercury. Mercury Recovery Program is designed to assist your community in the safe disposal of this heavy metal. For more information about where to dispose of these products, contact your local Board of Health, Department of Public Works, or visit our website at keepmercuryfromrising.org. Working together, we can keep our environment safe.
Attention all contractors. The Massachusetts Mercury Management Act makes it illegal to improperly dispose of old thermostats in the trash. They contain mercury that can be harmful to human health and the environment. Building and HVAC contractors, plumbers, and electricians, please properly dispose of all mercury thermostats. Contact your local health or public works department for information on where to safely dispose of thermostats in your community. Visit online, keepmercuryfromrising.org for details. Brought to you by Win Waste Innovations. Performance for the planet.
All right, folks, welcome back to actually the fourth and final segment. Oh, that's fun, but pretty quick, folks. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. That's 508-871-7000. Ted,
You know what you were saying in the beginning of the last segment, that AI is having some issues? Did you hear what happened at McDonald's?
No.
They spent millions of dollars on developing this system, and they've just knocked it out and threw it away.
You mean they opened some of the beta sites with the no human. It was all automated.
Right.
Well, I mean, there was some of there to monitor everything, but the robots made the burgers, the fries. You took your order to AI, everything.
Well, the problem really occurred at the drive-up window. People were making orders, and they were being told by AI they had ordered 240 chicken nuggets. And this went on and over, and there was a variety of mix-ups at the drive-up window. And it ended up costing them a lot of money.
I thought you were going to say the AI kept telling the people, that's not good for you. That's unhealthy. Your cholesterol will be high. I don't know. All right, folks, 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Let's go to the phone. Mrs. Blair has been waiting patiently. Mrs. Blair.
Oh, Joe, I've been listening for many, many years.
Wow.
I've never called in, but I let Ken speak for me.
Yeah.
Ken, originally from Massachusetts and then from New Hampshire, and you, of course, but I don't know, maybe you've addressed this today about the pardon, but when he pardons his son, which you can understand on some levels if you're a Democrat, which I'm not, but is he not also pardoning himself when you go back to the
100%, Mrs. Blair.
2014? Maybe you've already addressed that, but
yeah, I did earlier because
pardoning himself.
Exactly. And going back to 2014, he was vice president at the time, right? And he knows that by pardoning Hunter, there's no fuel to investigate anything that could eventually link back. And that's the other thing that the whistleblowers have told us, Mrs. Blair, is that whenever they were looking into Hunter, then they were told, stop. When it got to Joe being involved, stop right there, leave that out of the report. They didn't want anything to link Joe to it. And when you've got the two $5 million payments from Barista to each of them, that's a big thing. What's contained on that laptop is incredible. I listed the number of crimes that were on there. So yes, this isn't just, and I agree with you. As a father, you understand that for it, but then you don't go out there as president and a father, because he didn't just say, I'm not going to pardon him as a president. He said, my son, I'm going to respect the jury of his peers. I'm going to respect the court, whatever it is.
The whole world.
Yeah. And he said
I'm
it,
not going to do it.
and he said it both as president and he said it as the father. Now, I get that as a father, but when you can't go out there and say that for years and have Binder say it and then get all this praise for it and then reverse it and do that. And I get that. And he couldn't let that happen on the way out the door, but you were wrong to make everybody believe that and to say that. You should have left it open-ended. But look, what do you do? It's the way our system works. It's one of the perks of being the president that he does get to do that. I mean, he didn't have the presidential authority to take all those classified documents as he took as vice president and a senator, and he still got no consequences for that. because he wasn't fit enough to stand trial. Fit enough to be president with his finger on the nuclear button, but not to stand a trial.
That's another issue, isn't it? Oh my goodness.
Where are you from, Mrs. Blair? What town?
I live in Bristol, Rhode Island. My husband, 28 years active duty in the Army. I'm an old Army wife. I'm a great grandmother. Just had my 86th birthday.
Oh my goodness! Well, happy birthday! And I
Thank
thank
you.
your husband for his service, but I'm also thanking you as an Army wife, because the spouses of military people, folks, serve too. They may not wear the uniform,
do.
they may not go to the battlefield or what have you, but they're serving. They're living that life, and they're there having the backs of their spouses. So thank you for your service.
It was a wonderful life until it wasn't a wonderful life. My husband survived all the terrors of Vietnam, and well, he got 3 Bronze Stars. Doesn't cover what he went through there with the first gas. That was back in the 67, 68. But he went on to become a wonderful colonel, you know, and we remember he was a colonel when Reagan came in. So we were we let all the guys and gals in the office get all the tributes. And we stood on these huge Coke cans. I don't know where they got them from, but people behind us said, you have to stand on this Coke can so you can see him. I'm so short. And I stood on Coke cans watching the president go by with his parade, and it was just a joyous time.
Mrs.
So
Blair,
I
did you
remember
happen?
the thrilling time of those years.
Oh well,
Yeah.
did you happen to get a chance to go see the movie Reagan?
I have not seen it yet. No, I have
If you
not.
have, it's gonna. I don't know if it already is, but eventually it will come where you can get it on one of the streaming services. But if there's
Yeah.
somebody in your life, you've got grandchildren, your children, maybe somebody take you, go see it. I saw it when it came out.
Yeah.
And Reagan was the first president I got to vote for. Second term. I was too young to vote for in the
First
first
time I ever voted for a Republican.
Really? I think that was the case for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Okay. Reagan was absolutely. And I think a lot, I see a lot of similarities or parallels between Reagan and Trump in a lot of ways. And one is the crossing and the support that came from unexpected areas. Just the patriotism and the America first. We didn't call it under Reagan. We didn't have that term back then. Remember, we didn't use the term America first, but that's pretty much
But that's what it was.
it was. And the movie Reagan looks at it from the perspective of an old retired KGB agent, that a younger guy comes to him and says, how did we lose the Cold War? What happened? And he recants his time as an intelligence officer in the 80s who was given the task to study Reagan. And that's how the story's told. It's a great movie. It's something I'd watch again.
Okay, I'll put it on my first bucket list for the new year.
Now, is your husband still with us?
Oh, yes.
Oh, great.
My goodness.
All right.
He plays golf every week.
Marvelous.
Yeah, he's still with us. I'm 6 months older, so he's still celebrating the age of 85.
Blair, can you get him to call the show?
Yeah, have him call in sometime.
Oh,
Wait a minute,
I
you
love
married a younger man?
I
Whoa, cradle
he
robber.
always says, Joe, he says it this way: I married an older woman.
Yeah. That's fantastic.
Yes,
Have the Colonel
anyway,
give us a
and a
call
great life.
sometime.
Oh,
Yeah.
we'd love.
Yeah.
If you'd love that,
I
he'd
would.
love to speak. You know,
I would.
he's just a great guy, and he can tell you a lot of history about that. The U.S. Army back in the good old days.
Yeah,
Or
well,
the
well,
bad
that's
old
the
days,
other
whatever you
thing,
want.
right,
Yeah.
Mrs. Blair? We have Pete Hegseth, right, DOD, and Department of Defense, Secretary of Defense,
Yeah.
and he has clearly said, because he has written books on this already, right? And it bothers me when the left tries to downplay Pete Hegseth as he's just a Fox host.
Oh,
No,
I know. It makes me so
24
sad inside.
years and he's gotten 2 Bronze Stars, and he was in Guantanamo, Afghanistan, Iraq, And
Everywhere.
he happens to be. And the reason he was on Fox is because of his experience. But he has vowed to take the wokeness and stop with that DEI and get it back. The purpose of the military is clear, it's definitive, and that's what I want our military. I want it to be the biggest, baddest one on the block, because that keeps the
Yes,
peace.
absolutely. And he's the one I worry about. I hope he gets through.
Yes, I see it. Yeah.
But I do. I pray for it. Every time I think about him, I pray that he gets through the confirmation here, because you know what they can do. They can see it, or they can do all kinds of things.
Well, let's
make
see.
your
I
life
mean,
miserable.
look, the problem is the Republicans only have a few seats, and if you got a couple of these rhinos or rogues that go against it, it's a problem. But in theory, Trump picks should be done. And what kills me, and Mrs. Blair, we're running against the clock. So if I don't get a chance, I want to say thank you so much for finally calling. Thank you for listening for all these years.
Thank you. My first name is Blair. My last name is Simmons.
Oh,
so
I
I'm
thought it was Mrs.
Simmons.
Blair. Okay. All
I
right.
know. Everybody gets confused if I say my name is Blair.
All right. So Blair, thank you so much for calling and for listening.
Thank you. Oh, thank you for picking up on the other end, Joe. I
It's our
listen.
job.
I wish you were on every day.
Well, Monday through Thursday at 1:00. Weekday, except for
Excellent.
Friday, because the Cowboys come in my time slot and do their thing.
Excellent.
But every weekday afternoon, 1:00, just for an hour. But we're here.
Thank you so much. It's great talking to you.
You too.
And
Have
talk again.
Have the colonel
sometime.
call.
I will.
Take care.
I will, dear.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. Bye bye.
All right, that's great. I love, Ted, when someone calls who says that, been listening for years, first time I ever called, it's great because it reminds you the fact that there are so many people that are actually listening. And I've talked about this on the business side of radio and in the sales and marketing side of radio. Every survey taken by NAB, National Association of Broadcasters, market research, far less than 0.5% of people who listen to talk radio will ever call talk radio. Even though we've been around with the longest standing medium, we're the first social media platform, talk radio in general, but talk radio, the first interactive medium that's out there, because we came up with this concept of call-in radio. And yeah, you might think of it in the music formats, but talk radio is really the town square and the last place for everybody to be able to speak it. Now, you can do it on social media, but remember, that's still actually monitored and censored. All right, folks, we're coming up here to the end of the Monday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show on AM 830 WCRN Radio Central. Every afternoon, Monday through Thursday at 1:00. On Fridays, the Cowboys come in here for the Carr Brothers, so you get a little bit of fun on that Friday. Follow me on my social media platforms at Joe Mangi Show, MANGI, Joe Mangi. And that's it. I'll be back tomorrow at 1:00, guys. Joe out.